Write an algebraic expression that represents the description. Again, we're looking for those key words or phrases to help us form these expressions. The word quotient indicates division. Product would mean multiply. Tripled is multiplication, but specifically with 3. When you see this word of, it can also be an indication of multiplication. So this is 2/3 of z, so it's 2/3 times z. Or when we're writing algebraic expressions, we can even eliminate the symbol and just write it as 2/3 z. Tyler has 3 times as many fish as Leo. Let T represent the number of fish that Tyler has. Let L represent the number of fish that Leo has. Which of the following statements are true? Choose all that apply. The number of fish that Tyler has is 3L. That would be 3 times Leo's. So that one is true. The number of fish that Leo has is 1/3 of T. Tyler has 3 times as much as Leo. So Leo has 1/3 of Tyler's. So this is also true. It might be helpful to write out if Tyler has 1, Tyler has 3 times as many as Leo, so that would mean Leo only has 1/3 of a fish. We don't want him to have a part of a fish. So let's say Leo has 3, and Tyler has 3 times as many as Leo. So that would be 3 times 3 is 9. If Leo has 1, Tyler has 3 times as many. 1 times 3 is 3. If Leo has 10, Tyler has 3 times as many. That would be 30. C says the total number of fish that Tyler and Leo have together is T plus L. Well, the total would be if we added them together. Like 9 plus 3 would give us the total. So that one is true. Tyler must have an odd number of fish. Well, we see here 30 is not an odd number. So that's not necessarily true. If Leo has 4 fish, Tyler must have 7. If Leo has 4, 4 times 3 is 12, not 7. Leo has 1/3 as many fish as Tyler. Well, that's what we said here, just in an algebraic version. The number of fish that Tyler has divided by the number of fish Leo has is equal to 3. If we did Tyler's divided by Leo's, 30 divided by 10 is 3. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 3 divided by 1 is 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So that is true. The product of 3 and the number of fish that Leo has is equal to the number that Tyler has. 3 times 3 is 9, 1 times 3 is 3, 10 times 3 is 30, 4 times 3 is 12. So that one is true. The quotient of the number of fish that Tyler has and 3 is equal to the number that Leo has. So we'll take Tyler's, 12, and quotient means divide by 3, which gives us 4. 30 divided by 3 is 10, so that one is also correct. The number of cups of seltzer water in a punch recipe is 1.5 times the number of cups of lemonade. Complete the table. The seltzer is 1.5 times the lemonade. So if we did 4 times 1.5, that will tell us how much seltzer water. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 1/2 is 2. And 4 and 2 together make 6. 8 times 1 is 8, and a half of 8 is 4, and 8 and 4 together make 12. 20 times 1 is 20, and then a half of 20 is 10, and 20 and 10 together make 30. For this one, we are multiplying L by 1.5. Another way you could write 1.5. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 more makes 3. So you could also write this as 3 over 2L if you'd prefer the improper fraction. Or you can write it as a decimal, which is 1.5 times L. So there's several different methods, which all mean the same thing. Then for S, that's the seltzer. So if we wanted to get back to the amount of lemonade, instead of multiplying by 1.5, we would need to divide by 1.5. So this could say S over 1.5. It could also say, if you divided by 3 over 2, you could leave, flip it, or leave, change it, and flip it. So this could be 2/3 S. Or you could even write S divided by 1.5. Six friends share a bowl of cherries equally. Define the variable. Write an expression to represent the number of cherries that each friend gets. Well, C is the total number of cherries. So if we wanted to write an expression that represents the number of cherries each friend gets, we would take the total amount of cherries and divide it by 6. A bird seed recipe has 3.5 times as many cups of sunflower seeds as cups of peanuts. What is the ratio of the number of cups of sunflower seeds to the number of cups of peanuts? Well, there are 3.5 times as many sunflowers as peanuts. So this is 3.5 for every 1 cup of peanuts. So if we had 2 cups of peanuts, we would double it, and 3.5 doubled would be 7 sunflower seeds, or 7 cups of sunflower seeds. If we tripled it to get 3 cups of peanuts, we would need to multiply 3.5 by 3, which would be 10.5. And if we wanted 10 cups of peanuts, we would multiply the peanuts by 10, and that would give us 10 cups of peanuts, and 3.5 times 10 would be 35 cups of sunflower seeds. Let P represent the number of cups of peanuts. Write an expression that represents the number of cups of sunflower seeds needed for P cups of peanuts. So if we start with the peanuts, P, in order to get the sunflower seeds, we need to multiply it by 3.5. So this is 3.5 times P. What is the coefficient of P in your expression from part C? The coefficient is the number that goes with the variable. It's what the variable is multiplied by, so our coefficient in this case is 3.5. What types of numbers can P represent? Well, we wouldn't want negative cups of peanuts. So P can represent any positive value or it can also represent 0. But we don't want any negative values for the cups of peanuts. A shade of purple paint has 3 cups of red paint for every 4 cups of blue paint. Complete the table. So here's that ratio here. I see that if I multiply 3 by 2, that gives me 6. So 4 times 2 would go in this box, which is 8. 3 times 4 is 12, and 4 times 4 is 16. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so 3 divided by 4 is 3/4. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 4 divided by 3 would be 4/3, or 1 1/3. Write an expression that represents the number of cups of blue paint for R cups of red paint. So if we start with 1R, the way that we would get the cups of blue is we would multiply R by 4/3. Multiply the red by 4/3. Write an expression that represents the cups of red paint for B blue paint. Well, if we start with the blue paint, we would need to multiply by 3/4 to get the red paint. Because 1 times 3/4 is 3/4. 1 times 4/3 is 4/3. A dash drives at a constant speed for 300 miles. A, suppose it takes a dash 10 hours to drive the 300 miles. What is a dash's speed in miles per hour? Well, miles per hour says we divide the miles, 300, by the hours, which is 10. So he goes 30 miles per hour. Suppose it takes a dash 6 hours to drive 300 miles. What is his speed in, again, miles per hour? So we're starting with the miles and dividing it by the hours. Well, 30 divided by 6 is 5, so 300 divided by 6 would be 50. Write an expression to represent his speed if he drives for h hours. So we would take the 300 and we would divide it by the number of hours. That's one version of the expression. You could also write it as a fraction. Scott drives at a constant rate of 35 miles per hour. Define the variable. Write an expression to represent the number of miles Scott drives when he drives for any number of hours. Well, if we're trying to go for any number of hours, we're going to say H is the number of hours Scott drives. So he does 35 miles H hours. So that's going to be 35 times H, which is 35H. Riley offers to give 25% of the money she earns babysitting to her sister. Define the variable. Write 2 different expressions that each represent the amount of money in dollars that Riley gives to her sister. Well, we're going to start with M is the money Riley earns babysitting and remember we need units, so this is in dollars. She gives 25% to her sister. Percents are out of 100, so 25 out of 100, and then times the money. Or we could think of percents as a decimal, which would be 0.25, because 25 hundredths is 0.25 times m. It only asks for 2, but you could also think of 25 is a quarter, so you could also think of taking her money and splitting it into 4 equal parts. Because 25 100 can be reduced to 1/4, so it's a fourth of m, or m divided by 4. 8. The amount of money in dollars Blake earns per lawn for mowing X lawns is 60 divided by X. What does the number 60 mean in this situation? So the amount of money in dollars Blake earns per lawn for mowing X lawns is 60 divided by X. What does the number 60 represent in this situation? Well, X is the number of lawns, and we're trying to think about how much money he earns per lawn, so that would be the money per lawn. So 60 is the amount of money in dollars Blake earns for mowing a total of X lawns. An orchestra has V violin players and V divided by 3 cello players. Explain the relationship between the number of violin players and the number of cello players. There are a third, because it's divided by 3. The number of violin players as cello players. No, I said that backwards. There are a third as many cello players as violin players. Because the cello players were the violins divided by 3, so the violins is more. There are a third as many cello players as violin players. 10. A cyclist is 16 t miles from her starting point after cycling t hours. What does the number 16 mean in this situation? 16 is the miles per hour the cyclist is riding. If it's 16 times t, well, t is the number of hours that they're riding for, so it's 16 miles per hour. On this slide, you're supposed to select one of these expressions and write a situation for it. So I'm going to give you an example. This one could be like, we have 4 boxes with X pins in it, and those are getting split amongst 5 students. You can think of how many pins per student, and so that expression represents the number of pins per student. 4 boxes with X pins, split amongst 5 students. This one could be like the fries, the total number of fries, get split into 5 baskets. So this would be how many fries in each basket. This one could be like we bought 1 bucket of paint with X ounces in that bucket, and it's getting split into 5 paint trays. So the expression would represent the number of ounces in each paint tray. That's all for lesson 10. Make sure that your workbook is filled in and your composition book is completed as well. Then come back and check for the next lesson when you're ready.